Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for Northern Ag TV. I'm Coulter Brown. Well, wildfires burned over 500,000 acres in Montana and Wyoming this summer, creating a difficult road to recovery for ranchers, but the ag community certainly supports its own. Recently, I had the chance to visit where the Remington Fire started north of Leiter, Wyoming in northern Sheridan County. Rancher Andy Edwards showed me around where it burned through their place and then burned for more than 40 more miles, claiming nearly 200,000 acres. Andy said that before the fire even started, they knew the risk was high.
We didn't have much moisture after about the middle of May, and extreme temps moved in about July, mid-July, and the fuel became a huge concern for sure. And anytime there was lightning or strong hot winds, it seemed like you really needed to be around.
The Remington Fire was actually started by a coal seam, and Andy said those coal seams are always active, and with the right amount of south wind and the right amount of fuel, they can break out.
Fire hits a coal seam where it's exposed above ground, and the coal ignites and it burns underground. And it creates a void, so the ground will cave in on top of it, and so you've got that fuel on top of the ground that'll start on fire and it'll spread.
Andy was one of the first on the scene of the fire and describes what it was like trying to get control of it.
There's a set of coal seams right up there in the head of Little Remington Creek, and we had a strong south wind that day, and so I got up there and it was already just raging out of that drainage. But the house draw fire was going at the same time, so all of our resources were mostly down there already, and so it was mostly just locals here for 3 days. We had that east wind come up. That's when it really started running. Our lines just couldn't hold it. 43 miles in one night. Flame lengths and the speed of the fire were bad enough you couldn't catch it, and you just kind of had to get out of its way at that point.
I asked Andy, where do you even start to try to rebuild and recover after a fire like that?
Making sure all the people were safe was first, and second was getting your cattle gathered up and trying to make sure your neighbors had their cattle gathered up, and getting everything treated that you could, trying to find anything if it was dead, and trying to repair what fences you could to try to contain your cattle if you had some left and pasture left, and try to move forward.
Getting fence rebuilt is one of the top priorities immediately, but longer term, Andy said the biggest concern is feed.
We're going to need hay, and we're starting to see a lot of that show up, but a lot of people aren't getting it yet. They're kind of trying to wait and see what they have and what they need to do, but I have a feeling we're going to need quite a bit of hay this year around here, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need grass for the next summer or maybe 2 summers to try to keep what cows they have left.
This is likely to be a multi-year recovery process, and Andy said it's going to take a lot of time and effort to put things back together.
Maybe trying to do some aerial seeding on your north slopes where it burned hottest. Trying to get better water infrastructure in for your pastures you're going to have to use during times you normally didn't before because of that. And probably destocking. I mean, just running what you can until your forages and fences can support it.
The problem is that when you're ranching with coal seams, it's not a matter of if, but when a fire breaks out. Andy said one silver lining is the BLM is considering changing the way they manage around coal seams.
We've seen success with putting perimeter lines around them while being safe, not getting into where the coal seam's burning, putting perimeter lines around them so when they do jump out, the fire's contained at that point. So we're hoping that we can start doing that. It would save a lot of dollars lost and infrastructure lost and just the overall money it takes to fight these fires.
It's been great to see the outpouring of support to help the ranchers affected by dozens of fires this summer. But Andy said a lot of producers are hesitant to accept the help.
There's a lot of people out there grouping together to try to help people from all these fires, and if you need it, get it, because that's what I'm hearing a lot of, is everybody said, somebody had it worse than I did, and so I don't need anything, but they probably do.
Well, a big thanks to Andy for taking the time with us. For more information on how you can help producers affected by wildfires, visit northernag.net.
From the beginning, we've worked closely with farmers. BNSF's ties to the agricultural community go back 175 years. Together, we've innovated to make the U.S. agriculture supply chain one of the most efficient and productive in the world. Our strong relationship powers BNSF still today and helps us move the nation like no one else can. At BNSF, we move the nation for you.
Well, as we come back to look at these markets, I gotta be honest, I'm surprised by the amount of strength the feeder cattle have shown here lately. In the last 3 weeks, they've gained about $17. Now, in Friday's session, the strength did seem to wane. I wouldn't be surprised to see a pullback in the feeder cattle here over the next month or so, just as we get into the fall run and put more supply on the market, but hopefully I'm wrong and we can keep pushing things higher. The market has sure ignored box beef falling below $3 a pound, and it's instead focused on the cash trade, up $2 to $3 last week, with live deals $184 to $188, dress trade $290 to $295. At Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, the yearling market traded $3 to $4 higher, 8-weight steers from $246 to $256, the 9-weights $232 to $240, and the heifer trade 7-weights brought $241 to $252, 8-weight heifers $228 to $240. At the Newell Sheepyards, again, we saw lighter lambs higher, but the heavier lambs much lower. 60-pound lambs 185 to 193, 80-pounders fetching 163 to 171, and the 90-pound lambs sharply lower from 132 to 140. And the wheat market offered us little to get excited about last week, becoming rather range-bound and ignoring winter wheat planting rates in Russia falling to an 11-year low. Now, today is a big one for the wheat market with USDA's annual small grain summary coming out. We're hoping for some bullish news in that. Expectations are for this year's wheat crop to be up 9.5% from last year and total wheat supplies up 12%. Well, thanks for joining us for this morning's Northern Ag TV. Hope you have a great week.